Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Now, as most of you know, as Mustang Prince, one of my favorite kind of films are the ones that feature horses. And aside from Black Beauty, the Spirit movies, or the My Little Pony films and specials that I've blogged over the years, I think movies about horse racing are great too. One example being Secretariat, but that's a topic for another time. Anyway, the movie that I'm going to be blogging today is a really special horse race film that I've been wanting to blog for years, and it has a zebra as a central character. Released on January 14th, 2005, the movie is Racing Stripes. Now, on for the plot of the movie. The movie follows a young zebra named Stripes, whom was accidentally left behind by a traveling circus and rescued by a farmer/former thoroughbred trainer named Nolan Walsh. Stripes is soon introduced to the farm's misfit troupe of barnyard residents, led by a cranky Shetland pony named Tucker and a wise old goat named Franny. From the first moment that Stripes lays eyes on the racetrack that borders the Walsh farm, he dreams of racing the other horses at the track. But what he doesn't know is he's not exactly a horse. But with characteristic zeal, he devotes himself to training for the big time, with a little help from Tucker, who has coached a host of champion racehorses in the past, and Walsh's daughter Channing as his rider. So, what are my thoughts? Well, I loved this movie when I was a kid, and I still love it now. And nowadays, I believe it to be a very criminally underrated movie that's tons of fun for the whole family. But now, let's move on to Mustang Notes. The film was directed by Frederick Du Chow, who previously was an animator for the Smoggies, Disney's Tailspin, the Tom and Jerry movie, and The Land Before Time 3. He even directed Quest for Camelot and the 2007 Underdog movie. The film's script was written by David Schmidt along with Stephen P. Wagner and Kirk D'Amico. It was filmed at the Hollywood Bet Scottsville Racecourse in Pietermaritzburg, South Africa, and Riverholme County Estate in Nottington Road, South Africa. Development on the movie was completed in Los Angeles, California. On May 21st, Summit Entertainment and Warner Brothers acquired distribution rights to the movie. Also to note, after it was released in theaters, Racing Stripes became a modest success at the box office, due to it grossing $49 million at the American box office and an additional $40 million at the international box office. Now, in my opinion, the film's cinematography is absolutely excellent, and I really love the way the animals interact with one another, whether being trained or CGI. Plus, ever since I saw it in theaters, I found it to be pretty similar to 1995's pig movie, Babe. And as I said in my blog from 2020, it's a film about an animal that does something that his species doesn't normally do. Plus, while Racing Stripes is mostly a comedy, as well as including a few pop culture references, there are several moments that know when to be serious at times. And I thought the training scenes and the race at the Kentucky Open competition are some of my favorite moments ever. And now, let's move on to the film's cast. Our main character, Stripes, is voiced by Frankie Muniz, whom was in My Dog Skip, Big Fat Liar, and the Agent Cody Banks movies. To me, while he kind of does have a bit of an attitude problem, as well as being prone to mood swings and insecurity, I like that Stripes has a huge desire to compete in the Kentucky Open race. Also, Stripes loves running and racing the mailman. However, the scene where Stripes gets scared by the horse gate kind of reminds me of how I feel about track guns. Fun fact, Stripes was portrayed by two racing zebras named Sam and Daisy, and out of the two, Sam was more behaved and, funny enough, kind of wanted to be a horse, according to Tim Rivers, who trained him at the Animals in Motions farm near Citra, Florida. Sam had experience in Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, Second Noah, and Sheena. Next we have his rider, Channing Walsh, played by Hayden Panettiere, best known for voicing Dot in A Bug's Life, Suri in Dinosaur, Kate from Alpha and Omega, Red Riding Hood Puckett from Hoodwink 2, Kairi from the Kingdom Hearts game series, and Kirby from Scream 4 and the upcoming Scream 6 this coming March. To me, I think Chan is a very sweet 16-year-old girl, and I like that she's determined and willing to ride on horseback, and despite her lack of opportunity, she has a natural talent for it, exactly like her late mother Carolyn. However, during production of the movie, Hayden was thrown off a zebra, and she ended up being hospitalized with a concussion and a pinched nerve in her neck. The producers forbade her from mentioning the injury during the publicity, and she finally revealed it during a 2013 episode of the British talk show The Graham Norton Show. Next is her dad, Nolan, played by Bruce Greenwood, whom I remember from I, Robot, 8 Below, Firehouse Dog, National Treasure 2, and the 2009 Star Trek reboot and its sequel, Into Darkness. Nolan is a veteran Kentucky corn farmer and a retired racehorse trainer who has not been able to bear training horses, let alone Stripes, ever since his late wife was killed when her racehorse stumbled 6 years prior. Fearing that Channing will hurt herself if she ever rides Stripes, he refuses to let her anywhere near a saddle or the Turfway Park Raceway until he looks back at his past accomplishments thanks to Tucker, Franny, and Reggie, and he finally helps Channing and Stripes train for the big race. By the way, one of my favorite scenes involving Nolan is when he uses his tractor to make a practice racetrack in his cornfield. Also to mention, the animals in this movie call Nolan the Chief, kind of like how Arthur Hoggett in Babe is called the Boss. Next up is Tucker, voiced by Dustin Hoffman, best known from The Graduate, Tootsie, Hook, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, The Tale of Despero, and the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, which will next year become a quadrilogy. Now, Tucker is a Shetland pony who used to help Nolan train racehorses, including Sir Trenton. At first, Tucker presents himself with a grumpy demeanor after years of training ungrateful horses before retiring. But later, he helps Stripes by teaching him to race, as Stripes was the only one who was really grateful to him for his help. To me, Tucker makes a great mentor and coach, and I like that he believes that actions speak louder than words, and that he lives by the phrase, "Don't look back, leave it all on the track." Next is Franny, voiced by Whoopi Goldberg, whom was in Jumpin' Jack Flash, Disney's Extinct Golden Dreams show, The Lion King, The Pagemaster, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer the movie, Everyone's Hero, and Luck. Franny is an elderly Sainan goat who constantly encourages Stripes to pursue his dream, and she gives him many words of advice. Also, she seems to be the only animal on the farm aware of how upset Tucker is about his retirement. Also, one of my favorite scenes in the film is when Franny tells Stripes about Tucker's history with training racehorses, which proves that Tucker is a lot more experienced with racing than Stripes thinks. Next up is Goose, a New York accented pelican voiced by Joe Pantoliano, whom I mentioned in my blog of The Goonies. He states that he moved to the Walsh farm in order to escape from several other birds who had placed a hit on him, and that he was a hit bird. It is presumably his experience that rendered him afraid of loud noises. Some of my favorite scenes involving Goose is the part where he destroys Channing's motorcycle and deflates the chief's truck. The part where he revives an unconscious Stripes by pouring water on him, and the scene where Goose scouts the rays from the sky. Also, I thought his poop jokes were really gross, even though one time nearing the end was very satisfying. Next is Reggie Red Rooster, voiced by Jeff Foxworthy. To me, while Reggie doesn't seem to add too much to the movie, and his big eyes can be a little distracting, I think he's a character who means well, and he can be very funny at times. Also, I like the part where Reggie serves as the farm's news announcer for the rest of the animals. Kind of similar to Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam and Brewster the Rooster from Annabelle's Wish. Next is Sandy, an Arabian filly jumper and Stripes' love interest, voiced by Mandy Moore. Best known as Rapunzel from the Tangled franchise, Sheriff Callie from Sheriff Callie's Wild West, Nita from Brother Bear 2, and Aerith from the first Kingdom Hearts game. Before arriving at the Turfway Park, Sandy had been competing around the world. What I like about her is that she's the only horse who supports Stripes' dream to become a racehorse. Plus, Sandy and Stripes have romantic feelings for one another, which becomes very mutual by the end of the movie. After Stripes wins, Sandy ends up living at the farm as part of Nolan and Clara Dalrymple's bet. Next we have the hilarious comic relief duo and my favorite characters in the movie, Buzz and Scuzz, voiced by Steve Harvey and David Spade. These guys are a pair of horsefly brothers whom are good friends with Tucker. Buzz is larger and has blue eyes, combed hair, and favors classical music, while Scuzz is scrawnier, has red eyes, messed up hair, and is a rap fan. To me, these guys have some of the funniest scenes in the entire movie, including the part where they distract Sir Trenton by luring him into his stable while singing Aerosmith's Walk This Way, and when they act as messengers during the race. Another character to talk about is Woodsy, played by Michael Emmett Walsh. Woodsy is an old, wide racetrack gambler and a good friend to the Walsh family. He sympathizes with Channing, especially since he sees the same gift in her that was present in her late mom. One of my favorite scenes involving Woodsy is when he uses his stopwatch to time Stripes' quarter mile, and when he shows Nolan said watch in hopes to encourage him to train Stripes. Next is the main human antagonist, Clara Dalrymple, played by Wendy Malick, whom was Pacha's wife Chica in The Emperor's New Groove. I find Clara to be a corporate businesswoman who cares about making money off horse races and competition. She also demands that the horses be pushed to their limits as much as possible. Also, I don't like that she picks on Chan. However, after Stripes wins the race, not only does Nolan get to keep Sandy, but Clara gets her comeuppance when Goose poops on her hat in front of the press. Next we come to Stripes' rivals and competitors, Trenton's Pride and Roughshod, voiced by Joshua Jackson and Michael Rosenbaum. These two spend parts of the movie bullying Stripes. However, between the two, Roughshod is the worst, and he proves quite eager to help Sir Trenton in threatening Sandy in order to keep Stripes from racing, and when he and his rider try to sabotage Stripes during the competition, while Pride is a stallion who believes in winning a race the fair and honest way, unlike his father and other horses. Thankfully, by the end of the movie, Pride makes up and becomes friends with Stripes, having become impressed with his racing ability. Finally, we come to Pride's legendary father and the main animal antagonist, Sir Trenton, voiced by former U.S. Senator Fred Thompson, who sadly passed away in 2015. Anyway, Sir Trenton is an arrogant black thoroughbred horse who sees his son as having no purpose other than to carry on the Trenton legacy. He also seems to view the Kentucky Open competition as his property, which leads to his antagonistic nature towards Stripes, whom he believes will ruin it. He's also one of Tucker's former racehorses in training before Nolan and Tucker retired from training. Also, I thought Sir Trenton's nastiest moment is when he and his thoroughbred troop attack Stripes and kidnap Sandy and threaten to hurt her if Stripes races. And now on to my final words. Overall, Racing Stripes is a really fun movie, and it's one of my favorite movies from 2005. The story is inspirational, the musical score by Mark Isham is nice to listen to, the human characters are relatable, the animal characters are lovable and funny at times, the voice actors do amazing jobs, the comedy in this movie is hilarious, and the training and racing scenes are absolutely amazing that it'll make you want to cheer for them. So, I give this movie a full 100%. Yeah, there were a few grossed out jokes, but who cares? Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me next time where I return to my Sophia the First memory lane, starting with an episode where Minimus and several other flying horses go missing. Mustang Power.